Hey guys, it's April. I am going to attempt to do one of the epoxy cups with fabric. I want to do mine with a zipper on it, not just a fabric type cup. So I've watched a couple of videos and I'm going to try to get mine to do what they've done, but I want to change mine up just a little bit. So I'm going to be using this calico print fabric that's kind of like a stone wash or whatever you want to call it. But I want to use this eyelet zipper, and they're trimming all of their fabric off, and I'm going to try to do mine without doing that. And I've noticed that they're leaving the zipper pull on. I am going to try to clip mine here with some wire cutters and take it off so that I can put it back on later so that it moves freely and it's not epoxied down. So, with that being said, I've taken a stainless steel cup, and it doesn't have to be perfectly painted. And I am going to paint an area where the zipper is going to be open in a pearl white. Now, you can use mica powders to do this part of it, and that's quite a bit. That's a lot more than I need, but I want a lot of pearl in there. But I do want to brighten it up because that pearl won't be, it's just a shimmer. I'm just going to brighten it up with a little bit of paint and stir that up pretty good. Because this is just a coating for the cup, just for my Mod Podge and everything to stick to. And I think that that's going to be wide enough. Maybe just a little bit more. That's a lot more than I'm going to need, I'm pretty sure. And I'm going to paint around the bottom as well. I need to get my holder. Oh, that's better. Okay, so let me get my little football so I have a way to let this dry before I put my Mod Podge and my fabric on. And this is acrylic, so it shouldn't take it long to dry. And my zipper opening is going to come right here. This is where it says built. This is a straight built cup. And I am going to cut my fabric on the maker so that it's nice and straight. And I don't have to fight it. And I'm just going to kind of build up the paint here until this is like I want it. I'm probably going to add some glitter here. I just want a good base. And if anything shines through, I want it to be pearl. And then I'm going to paint the base because I'm stopping this cup right here where the seam is with the fabric. So I want to make sure that that gets covered as well. That I get a good coat of paint on it. I am going to probably use mica powder in my epoxy too, just to make sure that I get a good coat of pearl down there on the bottom. And that's probably what I'm going to do on the top too, but I'm trying to figure out how I can do it without it running into the zipper portion. I think I can do it, and I think it's going to be okay. I think I've figured out a technique and a way to do it. Because they're doing like theirs all at one time, and I am going to try to do mine in steps. But all I'm doing is just getting a little coat. Actually, I'm just trying to get some of the paint off my sponge brush here. Okay, I'm going to let that dry, and I'm probably going to do one more coat on it. I have to get that up. And then I'll be back with you guys. Okay, guys, I have cut my fabric, and I cut this on the Cricut maker. This is a 20-ounce built stainless steel cup. So if you're using that cup and you want this file, you're welcome to it. And it should work for you. And I am just... Oops, sorry guys. I accidentally paused my camera without realizing it. All I did was coat the edge of the fabric and start wrapping it around the cup until I got it secured enough that I could start coating around the top. And we're just going to pick up from that point. All I did was just secure the fabric or tack it down, basically. Okay. So I'm just making sure that I get a good coat of the Mod Podge over the entire piece of fabric and that it's stuck down well. You're basically going to saturate the fabric with the Mod Podge. Make sure that you cover the lip because we can trim that later if we need to. Looks like it's good. It should be good. I'm using a light fabric. It's a little bit hard to tell where you've got it and where you haven't, but we'll get there. You don't want any big clumps like that. You don't want clumps in it like this of your Mod Podge. The paint didn't really matter because we're covering it with the fabric and it will hide it. Right there I have a little place, but I'll fix that with, I don't know, glitter or epoxy. I'm still deciding. I'm on the fence. I'm just barely, I'm not really doing that hard enough to peel up the edge, but enough to get a little bit of Mod Podge under it. And this will probably be a long video, guys, but I didn't want you to miss any steps. And I didn't want to be off camera or anything like that for you guys. And now we're going to let this dry overnight. It needs to dry overnight. I'm going to keep telling myself that because I get anxious and I'm like, okay, it's dry enough, and then I move on. And then it's not dry enough. So I'll let this dry and we'll come back and go to the next step. Okay, guys. Hopefully you can see this. I'm just going to clip this, or I'm going to attempt to clip this and get it off of here. These are just a little cheap pair of snips that I have. Can't find my good ones. I'm just gonna, yeah, there we go. Just clip it. And I took a pencil and I just made a light dot on each side in case I moved this when I was taking this off. And I've just twisted it to get it off, and hopefully I can get it back on there. If I have to use another jump ring, I will. And you can see my little pencil marks there. It did move just a tiny bit, so I'm just going to push it back up to where I had it. That's where I wanted it to be. So let's go ahead, and my cup's almost dry. I will grab that and come back with you guys. Okay, guys, it has not been 24 hours. It has not dried yet. I decided to do another step. And I just have some paint brushes here, cheap ones that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to throw them away. I'm not going to try to clean epoxy out of them. And I've mixed up maybe a teaspoon of epoxy here and added some of the pigment powders. These are the Finnabares from Blitsy or scrapbook.com. That's where I got those. And then some of the paint that I used. And I painted another coat, and it's dry. But it's kind of lumpy and stuff, but that's okay. The epoxy should fill in. But I'm just going to get, and I am doing this extremely lightly, guys, because this is going to take a while to dry on the epoxy. But I just want to get a good smooth coat on there. Just in this area. I was going to go with glitter, but I could not find a glitter without ordering online, and I didn't really want to wait 4 days for glitter to come in that didn't have the green iridescent in it, and I just didn't like it. I'm just going to apply some of this in this area, and then I'm just going to hit it with my heat gun for a moment to let it smooth out. And this is on really thick. I'm not going to leave it this thick. I'm just trying to get it on and in the areas right now. I'm just painting some of it on. And you can see it's pretty thick, but I'm about to thin that out by hitting it with the heat gun. Hopefully that won't fall over and make a mess everywhere. And if it has any rough spots in it, after it sets, I will sand it. But I'm just going to let that sit. And I'm basically going to babysit this and kind of hand turn it for, I don't know, an hour or so, 30 minutes, an hour. So one little fisheye there. It gets really thin once you heat it up. Get some of that off of there. And any drips that go vertical, I'm not worried about because we can trim those off later. Heat that one more time. I'm making a mess here. One little place that's driving me nuts. It probably won't even show later. Okay, I'm going to call that good on there. You can see. And I'm just going to coat the bottom in the same manner. And it's going to be hard for me to do that on camera, guys, because the cup is so tall and the angle that I have to have it. So it's basically same step that I just did here, except I'm going to be doing the bottom. And then I'm going to let it sit and cure overnight. Okay, guys, you can see that I have it spinning. I had coated the bottom with a little bit of the epoxy, and I coated where my zipper is going to go. And it's not thick enough that it's really going to run, because I don't want it to run into the fabric, but it is just thick enough to give it the color that I wanted. I have one little place that's a little bit thick right there, but I think it's going to be okay. I think the zipper is going to cover it. It should be fine. It looks pretty smooth except for that one teeny tiny spot, and I think I can fix that, even if I have to sand it. So we're going to let this epoxy set, and once it has set, we will come back and add the zipper and do our vinyl. And I am seriously thinking about adding some rhinestones all around the bottom, spaced out pretty evenly. And I don't know. I haven't decided. And then we'll put that zipper on as well. So I will see you guys when this sets. Hey guys. I want to apologize. I just realized that my camera was not on. All I have done is taken some E6000, oops, and I just applied it along the edge and applied my zipper, and I applied it to the edges of the fabric of the zipper and pressed it down. That was all I did. Now I am working on, and I told you I had a little place up here that I have to touch up, and I'm just going to touch that up with some of my epoxy. I have to mix some more epoxy and fix that. When I went to sand the place, I knocked a piece out, so I will fix that. And now I'm using E6000, and I am putting rhinestones around the bottom. Didn't need it really, but I thought it would be cute. So that's all I'm doing here is picking up a rhinestone, touching it to some E6000 just a tiny bit, and placing it on all the way around. And once I finish putting that around, then I will start coating with my epoxy. Okay guys, I mixed maybe a teaspoon, probably more like a half a teaspoon of epoxy, and I have just dripped it in that area where I had that low spot where I knocked it out, because it was still soft. Make sure that you just let your epoxy cure fully before you sand it. I got anxious, that's all, and wanted to get that zipper on there and see how pretty it was going to be, and I got ahead of myself. But I am literally just painting this on because I also got some dust in there. Trust me, if you're working with opaque white like this, if there's a speck of dust anywhere around, it's going to land on this cup. Also, I found that I had a little air pocket. So when you're putting down your fabric, make sure, go back and check it as it's drying, that no air pockets develop under your fabric. That looks pretty good to me. And all I did literally was just build it up high right there and just scrape off just a little bit off my brush to fill in that spot, and looks like it's staying, so I'm going to leave it alone for real this time and not pick it over like I did last night. But back to the fabric. The little place that I had, actually it was 2 small places. I don't know if you guys have them, but I had access to a syringe from where my dog was sick and I had to give her injections. And I just took the plunger out and put a little Mod Podge in the plunger because you can't draw it. You'll have to take the stopper out and pour it in. If you can get one, you might have one for printer ink or something like that. But this one is a sharp. So I don't know if the ones for printers are sharp enough to work. But I just poked it right up under the air bubble, shot just a little tiny bit of Mod Podge in there, smoothed it down, worked perfectly. So if that happens to you, that's one way to fix it. I tried to fix it just by putting some on the top and rubbing it down, but it wasn't going to penetrate what had already cured. So make sure, the only way to avoid that is to make sure that it is stuck down well throughout your drying process on your Mod Podge. So we're going to let this cure. I have one little place right there, and I believe it's dust. I'm going to get that off and put another little dab of this epoxy on there and let it cure before I do any clear. Okay guys, I did decide to do one more step just to kind of, I don't know if it's because I have dogs or what it is, dust floating in the air. It's winter, the house has been locked up. But I decided to combat it with just a little teeny tiny bit of bling glitter. And I'm doing it on the cup too. I'll probably put just a little bit into the clear epoxy as well. Not much. It won't need much. You can't hardly see it. I mean, it's very little on that blue because it's not, I mean, it's tacky, but it's not sticky. And I want it on there as well. But I did put a little bit here and some down here at the base. And I really like it. It's not showing up as well for you guys on camera as it is here for me, and I tried to darken it so that it would show up for you guys, but it is really pretty. See if I can. It's kind of probably going to look gray on there, but I tell you, it's on fire. You can see a little sparkle there. Really liking it. Gonna let this cure, and we'll be back in about 12 hours. Okay guys, I'm back, and I have just finished stirring up my epoxy. I did not show that on camera. I just used equal parts and stirred it just like you would any other epoxy because I had another cup to do as well. So I've already coated it, and now I'm ready to go on this one. I am, however, going to add a little bit of House of Color Rainbow, Ultra Rainbow flake to this. Just a little, not a lot. I mean, a very minute amount. I'm going to stir those in because I want a little bling on it, not a ton. I'm just going to stir those in. And now I am going to start coating this, and I am going to start on the zipper itself and work my way using my hands. Hopefully that will stay in focus with my hands going into the camera. It may go out of focus and come back in, but that's okay. I just want to mainly, as a matter of fact, I am going to turn it off so that I can coat this zipper, and then we'll come back to the rest. Well, I say I am. There we go. I'm just going to get a good coat on there and on those stones as I go around. But I want to coat that zipper really good. to make sure that we have it down. And I'm not worried if it goes over the lip to the inside. I can clean that up later. I'm just going to, and I know this is a lot of epoxy, but I am going to thin it down as I go and work with it. I just want to make sure that that zipper gets coated really well because I don't want it to lift. And now let me see if I can get that back on. There we go. Without getting epoxy everywhere. And now I'm just going to concentrate on the stones as they go around. Just going to kind of let the cup turner work for me on this one. Just drizzling it with my fingers. And that looks good. Then I'm just going to coat the bottom. And I did mix extra epoxy for this one because of the stones, because of the zipper. But I'm still going to put it on really thin. I'm just kind of smoothing out what's already on there so that the fabric feels slick. Without rubbing up that ruffled edge. And this cup will probably take another coat, and that's fine. I just want we don't want to really be able to, or I don't. I want to know that the zipper is there, but I want it to be smooth. I don't know if this makes sense. I want it to be smooth leading up to it, but I don't. We know that it's going to have like a hump in it, and that's fine. And I do have a lot of extra, but that's okay. I may put it on that other cup just for some added bling to it. It's looking really good, actually. Let me put my heat gun to it just a second. I don't want a ton of air bubbles. I didn't have hardly any in my epoxy. I had been letting it sit for a little bit. I really should have left one glove on, but I didn't. Okay, and we're just going to let this sit and cure. It looks really smooth. I don't know if you can see by looking at the sides over here and here, but it looks really smooth. And we will find out. I know that we are going to probably have to do 2 coats. It's probably going to take a light sanding, and just wanting to make sure that that stays down. I don't want anything floating on me. So, as soon as that cures, guys, we will come back, and if it needs to be sanded, we will sand it and do another coat, and if it's good, then we'll go from there. Okay, guys, it has set. I am going to have to do another coat, not so much here. This looks great. Let's see if I can get it close up for you guys. You can see that it's pulled in there like it's supposed to be to smooth that out. Looks really good. I can still feel the zipper slightly, but it is covered. And I can feel the stone slightly. I have a little bit of a raised edge, not really raised edge, but I didn't get it quite thick enough right here for this lace. And yes, the lace did lighten up. It's supposed to. It was white, if you remember. Just like t-shirts, anything white that gets wet. That's the way it's going to do. But I'm going to have to do another coat for that. And I've got one little fisheye right there. You can see that. Where a bubble must have been under the fabric and I didn't get all the air out. But it's sealed to the cup. It just must have been an air escape from something. And then I have one tiny one there. And for some reason, the edge, I either missed it or it soaked up some of the epoxy. So I'm going to recoat a second coat, thin coat, just to cover that and to fix that. I am just going to lightly and gently sand it. Just in that area. And you can see I'm using a 320 grit. But I mean, other than that, it's smooth. I mean, that's even really smooth for a first coat. But I'm just going to go around the whole rim. It doesn't need much at all. I'm just going to, just to give it something to grab hold of when I do that next coat. But yeah, it looks really, really, really good. So another coat on this and it will be done. I am going to put my name on the bottom. As far as imperfections there, I really don't see any. I always like to do just the edge of the cup just in case anyway. I would not sand over those stones. They should be coated, but just in case I'm not going to. I don't want to dull down any shine on those. Just going to stick my name on the bottom and run it again. There's another one right there. Yeah, I think that's just where some air escaped from the fabric itself. But really, 2-3 places, that's it. That's pretty good for the first time using a zipper. But I'm really liking the way it looks. It's turning out really well. This right here, in my opinion, came out perfect. So, I will coat it one more time, just like I did the last time. I'm going to rinse it off, of course, get all that sanding dust off. And then I'm just going to coat it exactly like I did before and let it turn and it will be done. Okay guys, it is finished. I've just taken it off the tumbler and I reattached my zipper pull. Like I said, I wanted mine to be movable. So I just used a Dremel, drilled a hole where it was supposed to be, and reattached it. Many are not doing that, and they're just letting it stick to with their epoxy. So whatever you want to do on that. But it turned out beautifully. It's still a little sticky or tacky, but it is cured, and I'm going to let it sit for a while. Now the white lace, any of your pale colors are going to get faint, just like they would if they were wet. So you may want to wet it and see what yours is going to look like before you put it on there. I'm happy that mine did this because I thought it was too stark. It was too white against this white. So I'm happy that mine did that. And I wasn't even thinking of it, but before I started to put my epoxy on, I almost changed the zipper out and changed the color. But I'm glad I didn't. It dammed up well. You can still feel the zipper just slightly, and I like that. But other than that, it's got a real nice sleek finish on it. So nothing's going to get trapped down in here where you have to scrub and work hard on it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video.